Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power Hour. Our topic today is Power Virtual Agents in Microsoft 365 and their integration with flows in Power Automate. So we're going to be talking about it, doing a demo, and let's go ahead and do the stinger. All right, so again, this is Power Hour, and this is a show we do Wednesdays at 11 Central most weeks. We've been doing this for about 10 years, and I'm Laura Rogers. This is Joelle Jobson. We also have a chat going on. We have a live chat, which makes it fun. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what questions are going to be asked. So we, wherever you're watching this video, there's a link underneath to click to request to join the chat since we hold it in Teams. So we actually have everybody in there as external users in Teams in our tenant. So welcome everybody. I'll go ahead and show real quick. When I start sharing my screen, I'll show you how to get to it in Teams. We recently did switch to a new Microsoft 365 tenant. So the old one is going to be shutting down in a couple of days. It was just a demo tenant, so it's going to be turned off. So I have a new one that I set up. And if you see when you're logged in into the chat and it doesn't say, and it says ID Mentor Power Hour old, that's the old one. And you can just request to join in the new one if we haven't already added you. So let's see, let's go ahead and start talking about Power Virtual Agents. So we've done a Power Hour before years ago when Power Virtual Agents was new. So I'll kind of reintroduce it a little bit and talk about this concept of how it works with Flow and why you would want to do this and kind of what it does and what it doesn't do. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so here is, I'll go to web.powerva.microsoft.com, or you can type powervirtualagents.microsoft.com to get to this main interface. And let me go ahead and I have a couple of slides that I can show you kind of just some concepts real quick. Okay, let's see. All right, so Power Virtual Agents in Teams, the concept of the agent itself, of the bot itself, is just really this chat concept. It's a chat bot. So we have chat bots that we can build ourselves. And so what I'll be showing you in this demo is just how easy it is. It's no code, just building a chat bot to have those conversations. And you're going to the biggest, hardest part about this, the most time-consuming part about this really is this step right here, decide what end users will ask about. So with the concept of a bot, you really it's up to you to decide what your topic is. Like human resources is a good one. That's a good sort of basic concept of a place that people will go in a company to ask questions and some common questions, or think about an IT help desk. So think about things where you have some typical questions that people ask and a typical set of answers that you need to sort of lead them down a path. And you can do branching to say, if they answer this way, do this. If they answer this other way, do that within the conversation. So you can do this right inside of Teams, which is the first thing that I'll be showing, is just the fact that you can just add Power Virtual Agents just as an app in Teams. And when you're working on Power Virtual Agents chatbots just inside of Teams, it doesn't require an extra license level from what I understand. Now, Power Virtual Agents that are not just inside of Teams, that are like actually on a public website, where you have people like anonymous users going and talking to the chatbot, those are the ones where, from what I understand, those are the ones where the licensing comes in. But just inside of Teams, that's not going to be the case. So this is what it looks like. So the concept is that you're going to decide what the users are going to ask about. You can create automated conversations and use this sort of branching logic concept, which is the same sort of logic when you think about Microsoft Forms. If you've ever done branching logic there, where you say, if they decide this, go down this path. If you ask this and they answer yes, do this. If they answer no, do that. And sort of also the same concept exists within a flow where you have branching and conditions. So it's just basically using logic like that. So some of the concepts that we'll talking about is once you build an agent, build a chatbot, create one, you have this concept of topics, which is just like topics of conversation. And the topics are going to be where the person having a chat will ask questions and the bot answers and ask them questions. And within this concept, you have the concept of asking questions. You can create variables just like in a flow. You can even trigger a flow, which is the main concept we're talking about today. And the flow can even respond back to the chatbot. So, and you also have this concept of entities within your chatbot, which are lists of things. So let's go ahead and start. I'll create one, and then I'll show you a couple of different ways to create one, and then we'll actually work through it and build one together. And since we're all in the same tenant, you'll probably be able to try it out too as we go. So first of all, here is Teams. This is our chat. If you want to chat with us, you go to today's date in here. Once you've gotten in and you've gotten the email and you've gotten the welcome email, and you go in here and you go to our tenant, IW Mentor Power Hour. This is the general channel and the Power Hour team, and there's a tab for each date. So this is today's date. And to get to the chat, you go to this little chat bubble up here. And this is where you ask your questions and we have our lively discussions. Now, so the first thing that I wanted to show you about Power Virtual Agents is something that you can just try in your tenant. Now, of course, different tenants might have different things turned off. So I'm not sure what, your admin might have done something different to make it so that shows or doesn't show in your own tenant. So it's going to ask me permissions if I want to install this Power Virtual Agent. I have absolutely no idea what my password is. Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. So there are a couple of different things. Let me figure this password out real quick, and then I can move on. But let me see. I love the Google Password Manager, where I can just go view what my passwords are, and I don't have to try and remember it or have it recorded anywhere. Let me see. There we go. And approve request. Yeah. Sorry about that. I logged into the other Power Virtual Agents, the one just in its own tab in the browser, but I didn't log into the Teams one ahead of time because I was trying to kind of show you the entire experience of all the steps involved. So that's one of the steps involved. You have to get authenticated. All right, so it is going to go ahead and log me in, and it's adding this as a tab over here on the left side. So just like any other tabs that you have in Teams like this, you can right click and uninstall it if you want to. You can open in a new window. Of course, you can add new ones. So it's got a problem. All right, there it is. Okay, so this is where you can go in and start building bots just directly inside of Teams. But you also can go to the browser like I showed you over here and build bots in the browser, which is going to give you the ability to have more of a public bot to embed on your public website, as opposed to just only being in Teams for your internal people to chat with a bot when they're in Teams. Okay. So for this example, I want you all to be able to try this out and not be confined to being in Teams. So I'm going to use this interface, just the public one, and we'll go through this process of creating a bot. So I kind of went over the concepts with you. So I'm going to go through a few steps of actually building this out. And then we'll talk more specifically about the action inside of the bot to go ahead and call the flow. So you have to have a reason, of course. Let me go ahead and I'll call this and you could have, so here's what this little box does. This is, again, I was talking a minute ago as we were chatting right before we started about AI. This little box right here lets you type your website in, and what it's going to do is it's going to go out and analyze your website, like your public website, and it's going to automatically generate a bunch of topics, a bunch of questions, answers, and things like that based on the content of your website. So I think that's very cool. So I could put iwmentor.com in here, and then people would be able to chat with the bot and ask about our training and pricing and things like that. And it would just be all built in for me and save me some time. So you could also put a SharePoint site here. So if you are human resources department and you have a SharePoint site that's got information about your benefits and your company policies and things like that, you could just point this to your SharePoint site as a shortcut, and then it will just go out and generate this information for you. So I'm going to skip that and just click create. So it does take a few minutes to create the bot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a couple of lists in SharePoint because I'm doing all this from scratch. I want to be able to have the bot. I want somebody to be able to tell me that they want an item in my company store. And then I want them to be able to tell them that the price of the item. So the list is going to be in SharePoint. And so that's the idea here, is that it's going to kick off a flow, which is going to talk to SharePoint. So that's the whole reason that I'm going to have this specific demo kicking off a flow, is so that this bot can get to data that's in SharePoint. Because all it has right now is data that's just in the topics, and it comes with some default topics. So let's look at, so it's got some new features. It's telling me about this AI, that it's kind of a brand new feature. So it's got AI front and center, of course. We're going to do some of this mostly from scratch. I'm not going to have it just create answers for me, but it comes with a bunch of topics. So before I start getting into flow and the SharePoint list, let's just look at some just Power Virtual Agent just concepts here and try them out. So when you're in this interface, you start off on the overview. I just created a bot. It's called Test Bot. I start off on the overview and I can see topics here. So as you're building these topics, these are just the default topics, just to kind of get you started and show you how it works. As you're building it, you can try it out. So I want to say, let's see, what is this one? Lesson 1, a simple topic. So I need to know what the phrases are. So each topic that you have is going to say, have a trigger phrase. So when someone starts chatting with the bot, it needs to know sort of which topic to go down, sort of like which sort of workflow to get started, really. So each topic has trigger phrases. So since this little example topic, lesson 1, has trigger phrases of when are you closed, when are you open, store hours, all those phrases that someone types will kick off this particular topic. So two given topics are not going to have the same trigger phrases, because as soon as the end user types a phrase, it needs to know which topic to start going down. So it's going to say, I'm happy to help with store hours, blah, blah, blah. It just tells me the store hours. And yes, I like it. Great. And it's letting me do a rating. So can I help with anything else? No. So that's just what comes out of the box. So let me try lesson 2. So it's showing me again, store location, find a store. So I type find a store, and then see it's showing me visually over here on the right side that it's getting to this branch here, and it's asking a question. And then it provides the user with 3 different buttons. I'll move out of the way. And I click a button, and then see the bot over here sees that I went down a certain path, and then it's showing me, it's expanding out and showing me as it goes what it's doing, so that I can see how it works. So then I'll say, did that answer your question? Sure. And so that's what's built in. So once you start building all of your topics, and you get to the point where you're ready to make it go live and you're ready for people to be able to interact with this bot. And I'm going to do this right now just so you all can try it. Since this is a live demo, I'm going to go ahead and just publish this. And it's going to give me a demo website that's just a public URL that I can give you, since I'm on a trial version right now. So this is that one that I was talking about that actually does cost money, and it's going to be a link on a public website. This is the one that I just have a trial of. So that's why it's giving me this public website demo. All right, so I published it, and now I have a demo website, and I will give you all this link. copy that to the chat. Let's see. There we go. And then, so you all can try it and just try just those built-in topics that, that were already in there. Okay, so I'll get that out of the way. So this is the little example screen it gives you. Now, obviously, this is just for testing. You're not going to put this on your website. You would be embedding it on your website, but this is how you can get started and let multiple people try it out. All right, so far so good. Okay, so here, this is my bot. I've published it. So what I want to do is start building my own topic, and I want to build and have my own sort of direction that it goes down, so that I can start building and show you this part with all the actions and show you how to use the action that calls the flow. But I need to have a little bit of the infrastructure built behind the scenes so that it will function. So let me go ahead and go to my, go to SharePoint. So on the SharePoint site, I'm just going to do this. You all have access to all of this too, if you're in the chat. So I'm just going to build it right in here, just for fun. I trust you. I know you're not going to go in there and start deleting anything. So I'll just go ahead and call this a, call this my company store. I'll just call this store products. And then I want to show it in the navigation. And so the idea here, and I've done kind of demos here and there before in the past having to do with this concept, because I have a Power App that kind of does this too, is that you would have an internal company store where, think about just like getting more paper clips for your cubicle, or getting a stapler, a new keyboard, things like that, that it's not necessarily you're not going to be ordering it online or paying for it. They're just going to bring it to your cubicle. So just something pretty simple. There's no e-commerce here. So I want to have a few products, and before I start adding products, I need to decide. So I'll have a title of a product, and I'll just have a price. So I'll just do a currency price, and then the name of the product, the price. That's pretty much all I need. And then I need to have the orders themselves. So when someone says they want a product, I need to be able to put it in a SharePoint list saying that they're making an order and which product they're ordering. So I'll go ahead and build another new list. Call it orders. And I'm not going to do anything fancy with a lookup right now, because a lookup column is extremely complex, and I don't want to throw any kind of crazy monkey wrenches into what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do a text of, let's see, product. So product can just be the title, actually. Let me do quantity. That's how many that I want. Number. And then, so it's the product and the number. It's going to capture whoever the person is, and it's going to capture the date and time automatically, of course, because that's what all SharePoint lists do. And then I could also put a total here, which would give the total price of, however many they order times the cost. So I'll say total. I don't want to make this too complex. I want to be able to squeeze it all into an hour. So, okay. So what we're going to do from our bot is we're going to have a few store products, stapler, and we're going to tell the person, the bot is going to ask the person what product they want to order. And then the flow is that's going to trigger a flow, and then it's going to go out and find that product here. And then it's going to tell them that, thank you, you've ordered the product. So the stapler is going to be $5. I don't need attachments. Joelle, do you do that too? Is that like a pet peeve? It's a pet peeve of mine when it has attachments by default, and I don't, most lists that I create don't need attachments, and I go in there and turn it off. It's just one of those things that I always do. Okay, don't need attachments. All right, store products. Okay, I got a stapler. I've got a mouse. It'll be $12. And I'm not going to add too many things. I'll just add one more thing. I'll just say keyboard 15. Okay, just keep it simple. And then when they make an order, it's going to go look up a product. And then I also am going to have to create that actual store order topic. So that's going to be the next step, is I need to decide when someone goes to this bot and they want to order something from our company store, what are they going to be asking? Like, what words are they going to use? And of course, they can't conflict with any of the other like trigger words for these other ones. So I'll just say I'm adding a new topic. Notice that it's got this fancy new AI in here. I'm just going to do it from blank though. The AI is definitely going to save you a lot of time. So I tell it what phrases are going to trigger this particular topic. So store order. I could say company store. You get the picture. You could add a bunch of different trigger words. I'm trying to keep it pretty quick though. All right, so that's the trigger. And then once they trigger their flow, what do I want to happen? So I'm probably got to ask them some questions and kind of say, you know, ask them about, you know, what are you doing? What are you trying to order? And kind of get them answering questions about that. So the first question, so you can see this interface looks a lot like Power Automate, doesn't it? Where it's got sort of you're adding actions down the screen and you have this list of actions you can pick from. These are just called nodes in Power Automate. In a flow, they're called actions. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to say, would you like to order from our company store? And then I'm going to provide them a Boolean. So when you're picking what your choices are, it's got a whole long list of some common choices like cities, colors, dates, durations, things like that in here. I'm just going to say Boolean, just yes or no. So one important thing to know about building a Power Virtual Agent is whenever you ask somebody a question, it stores the response in a variable. So I can name these variables. I can click on the variable and I can call it var store order Boolean. And that's just going to let me know what they answer, yes or no. But I gave it a better name. So now you can see in here that it actually shows that it's got the new variable name now. And then what do I want to happen after I ask them this question? So I need it to go down a couple of different paths. So I'll have a condition. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, right here, condition. Okay, so the condition is going to be that I have to look at my variable, var store order Boolean is equal to, and I'm going to put true. It's going to be true or false since it's a Boolean. So if it equals true, then I'm going to ask them another question. I'm going to ask them what product they want, and that's where we'll get the flow involved. But if they say no, then I want to go ahead and I want to take them back sort of to the starting spot again. So I'm going to do a redirect. Let's see. Where'd it go? Not sure where it went. Variable management. Oh yeah, there we go. Go to another topic, and I'm going to go to the start over. There we go. So it's called redirect on here, but it just doesn't say redirect in the list of actions. It says go to another topic. So if they don't want to order from the store, I'm going to go ahead and let them just start all over with their conversation with the chatbot. Okay, so if they do want to order from the store, then I'm going to ask them another question. I'll say, what item would you like? Which item would you like? And then this is where okay, so this part is a little kind of wonky. So what I'd like to do is I would like when I present them with the list of options of, what store item that they want to choose from, I would like that list of options to be presented as buttons, just like a minute ago when I picked sort of which location that I was asking about with the store hours on that little test that I did. I want them to be buttons and just a list of products as buttons. That would be nice. But to have those be buttons, those would have to be entities. So one thing I could do is I could go into this list of entities, which are lists of things, and I could just hard code and I could just type in what all the items are from the store. But then I would have two separate lists of items. I would have the list in SharePoint, and then I would have to keep up with this list too of what all the products are that we have. So what I'm going to do, because I want to just use Flow and not have to build my list of items in two places, is I'm just going to ask them to tell me the name of the object of the item they want to order. So they're just going to type the name of it, and then I'm going to have my Flow go and look for that item in that SharePoint list. And then it will just tell them that, the price, etc. So I'm keeping it pretty simple, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind if you ever have a list of things that you need to present. There are more advanced things you can do with entities, but that's not something we're going to be delving into. Okay, so what item do they want? This is important. So this is going to be another variable, and I'm going to call this var item to purchase. Joelle, do we have any questions so far?
Just that they want you to move my image over a little.
Oh, okay, let me see if I can do that. Joelle, you're in the way. That's funny. That's kind of complicated. That would be pan. There, I think that'll help. I don't think we have anything over in that far right bottom that we are going to need. So thanks. Okay, so now it's going to provide them, let's see, back to what I was doing. Okay, so it's going to say instead of multiple choice options, it's just going to be user's entire response. So I just want to say they're just going to be typing something. So I'll say whatever their entire response is, just the text that they type is going to be what I'll take and put in this variable, the string variable. And then that's when we start getting into the flow part, where the next node that I put in here is going to be to call an action to do a flow. Now, I am not going to create my flow from, I could do it either way. So I could create my flow from right here on this button, or I could create my flow just from the regular flow interface. I'll just go ahead, since I'm here, I'll just click create a flow. And it's just taking me over to the Power Automate interface, and it's taking me to a brand new flow. So if you've ever done a flow that uses the integration between Power Apps and Power Automate, where you kick off the flow from the Power App and then you could have it send information back to the Power App, that's a similar concept to what you have here. You just have it kicked off from the Power Virtual Agent, and then you also have it be able to return information back to the Power Virtual Agent. So just like with kicking off any kind of manual flow, you have the ability to add inputs. So what I'm going to do is I'll say, I'll just call this input store item, and that's going to be what the person wants. And then I also want to know who the person is. And because the Power Virtual Agent has that data, but I just need to be able to send it over here. And another thing that I need to do is in my orders list, since it's not going to be creating this as the person that that's chatting with the bot, it's not going to be interacting with SharePoint as that person. It's going to be interacting with SharePoint as me, the bot creator and the flow creator. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a new column to be able to record who the person is that's making the order. Orderer. Orderer. There. Okay. orderer. I think I just made up a word. Okay, so then in my flow, it kicks off the Power Virtual Agent, and then what's it going to do? So I'm going to do a variable. I'm going to get whatever, I'm going to call it var selected item, and I'm going to be using this later in the flow. I'll show you. Variable, initialize variable. Yeah, we have to always initialize our variables right at the beginning. And that's going to be a string. And then I'm going to do a, let's see, I'm going to go get, do a SharePoint get items. Now, if the difference between get item and get items in SharePoint is that if I know the ID of the item, I can use the get item action and just tell it the ID. But I don't know the ID of what the store item is that I'll need. I'm just going to know the name of it, just the title. So I'll just use the get items action. And of course, it's the first time I've created a SharePoint action in Power Automate in this tenant, so it's authenticating me. So I need to tell it what the store address, the address is, the SharePoint page address. And so I go to Power Hour, and then my list name is going to be products, store products. And then here's the sort of complicated, it's always the complicated part. It's going to go, I'm going to use this substring filter query to go get whatever they type as the name of the product that they want. So because I want to look in the title of that store, where'd it go? Of that store product, I need to look in this title column to go find whatever word they type. So that's why I'm going to use this substring of, and then I need to put it in single quotes. And this is where I have my store item here. And this is going to be one of those inputs that I got when the flow kicked off. So substring of, close quotes, and then which column do I want a substring of? Title. Okay, so then I only want one thing. I'm just going to return just a single item. And then what else do I want to do? I want to count how many items. I want to see if basically if it's going to give me any results. I want to know if anything was found. If they type the name, if they type monkey in there, there's not a product called that. So I need to accommodate for them typing something that might not be in the list. So what I'm going to do, anytime you use the get items action, you can count how many items were returned. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll create a variable called var count. So this is a little bit more advanced of the demos that I usually do. It's recorded, so you could go in and follow along later if you'd like, because I did pretty much everything from scratch. Integer, and the default is going to be 0. And then I'm going to set that after I get the items, I'm going to set that variable, my var count, to however many items there were. So I'm going to use the length expression. Let's see, get, I'm going to rename this. Get from products. I've done this before, so I'm using like the same syntax I used in the previous demo. So I'm using the length expression. And length is going to count. So it's a little confusing. It's sort of a weird naming for this function, the fact that it's called length, but it really is just going to count how many items that it returned. So then I need to get the user profile. I want to know more information about that person that is making this request. So I'll do Office 365 users. And I'm just going to say get user profile. Not my profile, but user profile. And then again, this is also the first time it's used that. And then I'm going to send over the information that the person of who the person is communicating with the bot. And that's going to be that submitter user information that I send over. Because anything that I want to know about them besides just like their name and email address, that's the action that I can use to go get that information. Okay, and then I need to accommodate for whether the item that they typed in was found or not in that SharePoint list. So I'll do a condition, and I'll say if that, so that's that var count. If var count is equal to 0, then that item does not exist in the store. So what I want to do though is I need to have some text. I need to send some verbiage back to the Power Virtual Agent, because that's what this action is at the bottom. That's what information am I sending back to the agent? So if it can't find the item that they're ordering, I need to have that verbiage that I can send them. So I'm going to use a single variable, my var selected item, and I'm going to put the verbiage in there. And that way, if the verbiage says, thank you for ordering blah, blah, blah item, or if the verbiage says item does not exist in store, whatever it says at the end, that's the information that the person is going to be presented with. So I'm going to be setting a variable here. And that's my var selected item. And I'm going to put item does not exist in store. So, but if it does exist, here's what I want to do. I want to set a variable of whatever item that they typed. So I'll say variable, set variable, and var selected item is the one I'm setting. So here's where I'm going to use the results of whatever it found in SharePoint, and I'm going to provide them with that information. So I've got the title is going to be the name of the item. So it's get from products. Now, as soon as I put an action in here that converses with this get from products action, it thinks that it always does this. It thinks that there could potentially be multiple things since this is the get items action. So it automatically put this in a loop. So I'm only getting one item. I don't need to worry about the loop, but it's going to be there. It's just going to loop one time. I don't need to be concerned about it. So I'll say title costs what, and then I can go to the price. It's way down here. What did I call it? Cost price. There we go. Cost blah, blah, blah. And I'll put a little $sign in front of it. And will now be ordered for you. And then it can even put their name. And then I need it to actually create the order. So it's going to go to that SharePoint list and it's going to create an item. In my Power Hour, I cannot wait to try this. This is going to be fun. Power Hour in my orders list. It's all going to come together. And what is the name of the product that I'm ordering? That's going to be just the title of the product. And then the quantity is going to be 1. And then the total is it's just going to be 1 times whatever the price is. Now, if I wanted to get really complicated and have this flow, so this is important to know. If I wanted this flow to ask a couple of questions like, what is the item you would like? And then separately, okay, that item costs $12. And then how many of them would you like? If I have 2 different questions that I need to do, I'll have to create 2 completely different flows. So you could have a long, complicated bot that talks to SharePoint multiple times throughout the bot, but it's going to have to be a different flow every time you do that. So that's just out of the scope of a 1-hour demo. So I'm just doing it really simple and just having it just order one thing when they say they want to order it. So it's going to go create the item. This is the order that they're placing. And then it's going to send an email. It's going to let the person know that they made an order. So I'll say email. Send an email. And who do I want to send the email to? I want it to send an email to the person that made the order, and I can just use the mail. Probably Joelle's face is in the way again because we're down here in the corner. Any questions so far, Joelle?
Let's see.
I have too many screens open that I can't see the questions while I'm doing this.
Yeah, Bruce had just said earlier that you can pull the list of items from a SharePoint list or not. I guess you were answering that. That was earlier.
There might be a very advanced like JSON way to create some sort of connection to do that, but I have not. I spent a couple of hours trying to figure that out. I have not been able to find a way to do that. So there could be a brand new something they just added like in the last month, but I have not in the past found a way to accomplish that. The order has been placed, and I'll tell them what item they ordered, and that's the title of the item. And then I could do a script description, cost, whatever. I'll just put cost here. I'll just use that price there. And that's it. So I'll save this. Let's see. I'll call this store order PVA and save it. Oh, and then I have one more thing. I forgot. I have to return the information back to the Power Virtual Agent. So I'm not finished yet. I need to be able to go down here, and because it has to respond to the person and let them know in the bot and let them know that they made the order. So I'll do order info is what I'll call it. And this is going to have that variable in it. So this is that variable that might say, we couldn't find your item, but it might say that you just ordered an item. So this is what it's going to respond with. And then for it to go down this path down at the bottom, I need to configure my run after here. Because no matter which branch it goes down in that condition, I need it to them to converge and go to this last action. So I'll just make sure that it does that and save it one more time. Overwrite. Nobody else is in this. I don't know what it's doing. Okay. Okay. So now my my flow is saved. So now when I'm back over on my my bot, I can say done. And so now back to the bot, I have to decide what's going to happen next. So after I ask the question and ask them which item they would like, then I have this action that's going to call this, and here's the name of the flow I just created. So in the call and action, once you've created any flows that have that Power Virtual Agent trigger, they will be listed here. So you don't have to create the flow from this interface. So now, since it's talked to the flow and it notices that the flow has two inputs that it needs, this is where I'm going to tell it those variables. So this is my var item to purchase. That's going to be the word of the item, the name that they type. And then this submitter user ID is going to be this dynamic information about the person themselves, the person interacting with the bot. And user dot, sorry, user, not user language. Hold on. Got my other, yeah, activity from, there it is. Sorry, it's in system. Activity.from.id is going to be the person's ID. Let me just type this. So this is going to be the person's like user ID, and then this is going to be their name. So I'll just use their ID here. This is like a user, like a GUID, like a unique ID for that person in your directory. So when I go take that information over to the flow, and I use that Office 365 users action to go get that person's details, then I can get all the other information about them just from this ID, because all I have here is just their ID and name. Okay, so then it takes these two pieces of information, and then it, the output, it already knows that the flow is sending back this order info. And then I want to let it know in a message. I need to tell the person what they've ordered or not ordered. So I'll add a message down here. I'll just say send a message. And that's just like one-way information. You're just telling the person something. So then I'm going to put my order info variable in here. Oops. Variable. Okay, and then I'll save that. Oh, I have to name my topic. So my topic is called store order. Save it. We'll test it out. We could test it out just immediately, just right here on the left side. And so how do you test it out? You start off with your triggers. So one of my trigger phrases was store order. So I'm going to type it over here. I can clear this out too. Let me clear this. So I'm way down here. Can y'all see that okay? Let me see. Oh no, I'm down here like behind my face there. Okay, store order. And then would you like to order from a company store? Yes. Let's see if this is a demo. So surely it's not going to go well the first time. So which item would you like? Let's see. I think I'll get a mouse. And this is the tricky part where it's going out to the flow. And so it's kicking off the flow. Look at that. Holy cow, it worked. First try. So it says mouse costs $12 and will now be ordered for you, Laura Rogers. So the flow ran, and I can go look at the flow run down here. It succeeded. Everything went fine. So here's what it did. Power Virtual Agent sent this information. It kicked off a variable. It got that one item from the store products, substring of title that has the word mouse in it. It got the person's profile. It said it did have the item. So let's try another test where it doesn't have the item, where it needs to go down this other path. So let's try that again. So I'll say start over. Well, I could type start over, or I could also just clear this whole panel. So I'll just say store order. And then, yes, I want to order. And I would like a monkey. And then it's going to go kick off the flow. It's going to search the SharePoint list, and it's coming back. Item does not exist in the store. That was pretty fast, right? All right. So does that, any questions about this concept? So what I wanted to go over with you was just the idea of this specific action in anything you need to go get from SharePoint. And other concepts you could think about would be, again, things people ask your HR department, company policies. It can't send a file here. So there are only certain things, there are only certain types of, let me go back to edit mode. Only certain types of outputs that the flow can send back to the bot. So when I go to add an output, all it has is text, yes, no, or number. So I can't send a file, like I can't go to SharePoint and get an actual file and send the file content in the bot. So there's some limitations. I can't send a list of things. So I can't go query the SharePoint list and then send it as like an array, like a list of things. I would have to go get the list from SharePoint and put them like maybe comma delimited. I could send it as a string of text. So that's possible. But I have tried that once and it worked. But again, I had to create two separate flows. I had to create the flow for it to go out and look at what the list of products were. And then the bot kind of moved on. And then I had to create a separate flow to go actually do the order. So it would just, be more time consuming. I'll go ahead and publish this. And let's see, publish and let you all try this. And we'll try it on this little demo website. What do you think, Joelle? Can the flow send back a URL? What was that?
Just thinking of use cases. It's pretty cool. It's really cool.
Yes. Yeah, so Bruce, you could pull the list of items, but you'd have to do something complex in your flow that would somehow take that list of items and concatenate them together into one string, like a comma delimited string, and send that back. And again, that would have to be a separate flow, which is why I just didn't have the bandwidth to do that in an hour. But it seems like it's possible. I think I have tried it. I think it would have been like a year or two ago, though. Yes, the flow could send back a URL. So you could say, I'd like to read the dress code policy. It could go to SharePoint and go do a query to a SharePoint library and go find something with, a certain keyword in the title, and then go find that item, and then you'd have a URL, just if because Flow can get the URL of any item. And then you could even do a sharing link action in your Flow, where it would send back the sharing link, which would be, I find that the sharing link, when people click on it, it's much more compatible with other interfaces they might be in, other OSs they might be on, Power Virtual Agents. It seems to work better than just the item link that's just like the built-in link to everything in SharePoint. So, but yeah, you could send it back a URL. Send them the URL to open the form to fill out. Well, okay, so that's a great point you made, Annette. What you could do in here, let me show you another one of the cool little actions that's brand new. Let me go into my store order, and we're just going to talk about this. We're not, I don't have anything prepared for this, but look at this. Ask with adaptive card. So adaptive cards, I mean, sky's the limit, right, Joelle? Haven't you done something like this in Teams where you had an adaptive card presented to someone, they had to fill something in or make a decision?
Oh yeah, we had a customer who wanted absolutely no emails ever, and we built an entire business process with adaptive cards. Like everything was an adaptive card, like asking questions, continuing a workflow, then going to the next person, doing something, like the whole business process, a huge business process, was all
cool.
adaptive cards.
So if I click to ask with an adaptive card, then I have this awesome interface that, well, it's really for developers, because you'd have to be able to write JSON, and Joelle can do it. It's pretty complex. I can't do it real quick, but yeah, what's that adaptive card website that has like that whole interface? Oh, here it is right here. Open Adaptive Card Designer. And I think we've touched on the concept of adaptive cards a couple of times in Power Hour, but basically they have here just like some samples that you can go through and it shows it over here on the right, of different ways that adaptive cards can look. So look at this. I mean, this is a really pretty long, complex expense report with even like a subtable in it. You have pretty images that you can put in these. You can put buttons in them. So adaptive cards are extremely flexible. And these are all the sort of samples that you could start with, but that's just another possibility that you could use in here. All right, let's see. Is there anything else that I missed? Let me see. Oh, it appears to handle spelling errors. That's funny. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Carolyn, for trying that out. So if you went on the demo website, let me refresh this. If you could try this now. Except, you know what? On the public website, is it going to know your user ID? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Let me try this. Mouse again. So it was mouse, stapler, mouse, or keyboard is what the options were. So yeah, I don't know. See, the public website's kind of like got a whole different concept when it comes to your authentication and who you are as an end user. So it's going to be really smooth and easy when you build one of these just inside of Teams, because the person's already authenticated to your tenant inside of Teams and it knows who you are. But it's going to be more complex if you're on a public website that's got anonymous users, or if your users do you have like dynamic CRM and your users are maybe logged in to like a public portal that you have in Dynamics. People use chatbots a lot with those. So that would be the kind of like user ID that it would use from Dynamics potentially. So let's see. Yeah, cool. All right, let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the concept of Power Virtual Agents and the integration with Power Automate. A quick announcement, I am going to be at Microsoft Ignite in person in Seattle the week of the 13th, so it's in a couple of weeks. So If any of you are also going to be there, reach out and email me, laura@iwmentor.com, and we can I can tell you when my meetups are going to be. We can figure out how you can find me there. It's going to be really exciting. Huge in-person event. Whoa, right? So thanks everybody for coming to Power Hour. If you ever want to know what our schedule is, you can go to iwmentor.com and then just click schedule at the top, and that's going to tell you when our next Power Hour is going to be and when all of our training classes are taking place. So thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Joelle. And